everyone, it's Abby Glassenberg from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are having a great day. It is Wednesday, so time for our member spotlight interview, and today we're going to be talking with Cathy Dillon. And Cathy is one of our members who provides a service to the industry rather than selling, a craft-based product. So she's a bookkeeper and an accountant, and she has a really popular business helping craft industry businesses with their books. And so I'm really excited to talk to her about how she got into doing this and kind of the types of services that she provides, what her rates might be, and how you could potentially work with Cathy, because I will tell you that having a bookkeeper is an amazing addition to your business. It will make you so happy. We have one time, and I just am so thankful to have a bookkeeper. And it's also great to have somebody who really speaks your language. Hey, Cathy, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to talk with you about your services as a bookkeeper. It looks like maybe your video stalled out a little bit. I don't know if you're in a great spot for Wi-Fi. Oh, there you go. You're back again.
Give me 1 second here. Sorry.
That's okay. You can take a second to get yourself oriented. That's totally fine.
I had it set up and then it didn't work out as well as I thought. Okay. All right.
So you're perfect. Just like that. We can see you super well.
Great.
Yeah. So Cathy, tell us about your bookkeeping services and kind of how you got into serving the craft niche, because it's kind of a unique one, and I'm interested to hear that story.
Yeah. So I am an accountant, and I've been an accountant since I graduated from college at 22. I've worked my way up from that into being a financial analyst, and I worked on financial systems and computers and whatnot, and really just every area of accounting. And but I've always wanted to work in a smaller environment with smaller clients, and because all my employers were very large consumer products industries. You would know both of them. I worked for two different ones. You'd know them both. And so when I started this business, one of the things that I was trying to think about is, what niche do I want? Because you do have to pick one. You can't just be all broad. And so I thought, who do I know that I like hanging out with? And because I'm an avid knitter, and I go 2 or 3 times a year to Fiber Fests and the local yarn stores and all that kind of stuff, and I have a ball with it. And I can honestly say this: I've never met someone I didn't like. So I thought, why don't I work with these people? And it has proven out 100%, because every client I have, I enjoy chit-chatting with, and I want to enjoy working with people. So that's why I chose this niche, and it's been very fun. I've learned a lot about different things, not just, my knitting, my area, but so many other things, other crafts that I find incredibly interesting. And so, and I like to learn. So learning about other crafts and whatnot, even if I don't try them, I just enjoy them. So, and I've also found that this niche needs a lot of education. And I do a lot of education. Cash management, cost of goods sold, pricing, what inventory really is, how to manage your inventory. I find that the very basics, even though you might have a bookkeeper do the work, you still have to have that basic knowledge, because the fact is you're making decisions about your lifestyle. So so what I do usually is I do the bookkeeping for sure, but I do a lot of education too. And I've done 4 or 5 webinars, free webinars about cash and management, inventory management, that kind of thing. And I feel like I'm getting to people and they're starting to understand, and I'm building a pretty good clientele list. So,
that's great. Yeah. I know many of our members have begun working with you, and I agree with you that there is a lot of need for education, myself included. I mean, I didn't come from an accounting background or even a business school background in any way. I got into doing this because I enjoyed sewing. So that wasn't about, the numbers. And you're right that even if you have somebody who's taking care of it for you, it's really about understanding what those numbers are saying. And so when you start working with a client, what are some of the things that you do? Like if somebody comes in and maybe their books really haven't been kept properly, maybe they've been just using a spreadsheet, and a box of receipts or something like that. What are some of those first steps to kind of get them where they should be?
Right. So the first thing I do is I want to get to know their business. So I want to get to know how they operate, what their sales channels are, their revenue streams. Are they wholesale? Are they retail? Do they do teaching? Some of my clients do teaching. Some are on many different revenue streams. Etsy, Zulily, all that kind of stuff. So I get to know them, and I want to understand their current, whatever it is, their current processes. And it's okay if they don't exist. That's okay, because that's the whole idea. Is we're trying to get you organized, and then from there, we usually try to, unless they have really good records, which typically they don't, I build out at least 6 months of their financials. So right now, I would tell any new client, I'd say, let's get history going back to January 1 of 2020, so that we have a good idea of what you sold, for how much, what your purchases are. I have people who just would just purchase because they have the cash, and the reality is they can't do that because then they have a lot of inventory. So we kind of, as we're going through the history, sometimes I go back even 2 years depending on what they need. But as we're going through the history, we talk about best practices, and I educate them on, especially inventory. Inventory is a real tough one for people to get their arms around. But I educate them on what they're doing and how they're doing it. And we have conversations about, okay, why do you do this? Because there's usually a reason. To say that crafters don't know about business practices, yep, that's true. They need education, but they usually have a good reason why they did it. And a lot of times they're spot on. I'm not, it may do it for a different reason, but they're spot on. So that's what I would do so during the cleanup process, we would educate each other. I would learn a lot more about their business. I literally look at every transaction, and we have regular meetings to go through those transactions so that we all are on the same page and have a really good plan going forward. And then it becomes simple. And then, the month end comes, I do their books, and I may have some questions, because there's always some questions, send them out to them, and boom, by 2 weeks after the month end or so, they've got a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement and a cash flow, which I've taught them how to use.
I was going to say, do you help them understand?
Oh, yeah.
How do you read a profit and loss
Yep.
statement? How do you understand cash flow from these, this spreadsheet that you sent?
Absolutely, because that's important. So we want them to be independent. So when they get their information, they can read it. And so that's part of this cleanup, or the big organization process or project that I do with them. And it's a little bit of a process, it takes a little bit of time, because we can't just blow it all onto anybody at one time. So, I have a client who had no accounting experience, no accounting knowledge whatsoever, and she had no books. Okay. And so I on QuickBooks, I reconstructed 2 years worth of financials. Yeah. And every month I would have to go through with her for a few months, I would have to go through with her. This is what this means. This is what this means. Now I send them to her, and she has no questions. That's because she understands them. And that's the goal. The goal is not that I have all the information. The goal is that I'm here when you have a question. I do your books. I'm here when you have a question, and you can run your business. I just give you information.
And there's a lot of shame in feeling like, oh my gosh, I haven't been doing anything, or I haven't been doing it right, and it's a big mess, and I don't want anyone to peek under the hood. Or, the feeling of, okay, I've got these, profit and loss statement, this cash flow statement, but I do not understand what it means, and I don't understand how to interpret this. And again, there can just be that feeling of being in math class, like you're in, algebra 2, and you get this problem and you can't do it, and it's like this bad feeling. So, I think that taking the time to say, it's fine. Like, we can reconstruct. We can teach you how to do this. It is going to be useful. It may never be fun, but it's going to be something you can do.
Right. And that the reports you're getting are accurate, which means that you can make good decisions. Because if you don't have good information, you cannot make good decisions. Your business will never, ever, ever be profitable. It won't. It just won't.
Right.
So you can't do that. Yeah. So
exactly. That's great.
I have a lot of really good clients, and they've become really well educated, which I like. So.
And how much does this cost, if you don't mind telling us? Because I think also there can be a feeling like, well, I'm just selling on Etsy, or I just have, a few wholesale accounts right now or something like that. And I'm not sure, I can afford to invest in a bookkeeper. Like maybe that's more than I'm ready for, but yet at the same time, maybe that's what I need. So, how does somebody know they're ready, and how much does this cost?
Right. So it's different for everybody. So I can't really quote a cost, but how I handle this is I do a really good consultation with a potential client. It is 100% free. 100% free. There's no obligation whatsoever. So we have a conversation about it starts out with, what is your business? Not from a financial perspective, but tell me about your business. Tell me about you. Why did you get into it? Because that's important too. So for some people, it's a part-time thing. For some people, it's a full-time thing. For some people, it's their entire revenue. Some people, they have their husband or their wife who takes all the money, and they just have this, it's a full-time hobby.
Right.
So those are the things I need to know. And we talk about, how they're handling their processes. So that's all part of this consultation. And I want to know what they want from me. Do they want an education so that they can do it themselves? That doesn't usually work out really well, because knowing the nuances behind bookkeeping is different for everybody. But I can do that, and I have done it successfully. So that's what the consultation's for. And then the next step would be a diagnostic. So I look at your current accounting system, if you have one, and your current PayPal accounts and things like that, to get an idea of the number of transactions and whatnot. Then I can put together a proposal for cleanup, and then also for ongoing bookkeeping. And we talk about how many years we should go back. Should we go back 1 year? Should we go back 2 years? I have another client that I took on that she actually she had a good bookkeeper. She wasn't satisfied with the bookkeeper, but the bookkeeper was doing a fine job. So we didn't have to go back. So there's a lot to it. So I would encourage people to just book a consultation. I'm not a hard seller. I really am not. So I'm here, and I'll give advice for an hour, and then, we can part ways or not, and then that's okay. And that's what I would suggest for people to do.
And I love that you are a knitter and somebody who really respects people in the crafts industry, because I think some dissatisfaction at times from using a bookkeeper or an accountant for tax time, etc., can come from working with somebody who maybe is in a very different field, a very different niche, looks at, quilting or crochet as, something old fashioned, or just not like a serious business. And we know from being in this industry that it is a serious business and does deserve that respect. And so it's nice that you have that sort of perspective, point of view.
Yeah. Well, the underpinnings of accounting are all the same for everybody. The debits and credits are the same, but how you interpret them, and a client is a client, and so I really enjoy this group of people, and so for me, it's a joy and a lot of fun to do a consultation, because I can chit chat, and I like I said, I've met people all over the country, and I'm having a good time. And I like that. I worked in corporate for 30, 40 years, and I'm thrilled that I'm just getting to pick out my clients and meet them and stuff like that. And so that's been fun. That's
terrific. And I also just wanted to add that if down the road, for anybody who's listening today, you ever wanted to sell your business, it is really, really important that you have clean books going back many years. And so it's worth it to invest that time and energy and money now to build out those books. And that way, who knows? You don't know where life's going to go, but when that time, if it does come, you're ready.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, I also wanted to encourage my website can be accessed through my Facebook page, and on there, there is a whole group of free resources about cash flow, inventory management, and all my past webinars. All free. You do have to sign up, but it's all free. So I would like to encourage people to go and look and watch the webinars, and that will give them some understanding about a lot of different subjects. They're pretty detailed, and then there's some workbooks to download as well.
That's fantastic. Okay, so tell everybody where exactly to go to find all of these resources.
Okay, so my website is www.boostbusiness.biz. You can there become an insider, which is where all the resources are that are free. You can schedule a consultation. You can also join our Facebook group called Crafty Business Owners.
Okay.
And I do also have a Facebook page as well. And Yep, there's reviews there as well, so you can see what people do.
That's great. And I know, if you weren't sure and wanted to talk to some of Cathy's clients, many Craft Industry Alliance members at this point are your clients. And so I'm sure you could also check references and get to know Cathy's work through other people she's worked with. So,
and that's a really good business practice also, whether you're hiring an accountant or someone that you buy hay from for your sheep. It's just a good business practice to know who you're working with. So I encourage people to do.
Yeah, I've done that many times, and I think it's really helpful. So, Cathy, this is great. I love having you as a member. We love having members who serve the industry because that is such an important role. And what you're doing is also really important work. So thank you.
Can I add one more thing? Would you mind?
Absolutely.
So on October 20th, I'm having what I think is a really important webinar for artists and crafters, and it's about product pricing specifically for artists and crafters. And we're going to talk about material costs and labor costs and overhead calculation and what is break even and the cost of sales. So you can find that on, I think I've posted it on the Craft Industry, I have posted on Craft Industry Alliance. I think I would encourage people to consider it. It's $30, but you'll get a really great workbook to go along with it. So everything I've been talking about in the webinar, as well as a workbook which goes into some more detail that we can't get into in the webinar, with lots of examples. I'll be answering lots of questions. And what I found with my clients is that inventory is a really big, cloudy issue.
Yeah.
Cloudy. So I'm kind of set a goal for myself is to get people educated. So this is what I'm doing. I wanted to make sure everybody knows about that because I think it can be really beneficial to their community.
That's fabulous. So good to know about. And it's a super reasonable price to learn from an expert. I think that's terrific. What a great resource.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who joined us today for our member spotlight. And thank you, Cathy. And we will see everybody next week.
Great. Have a good day.
Bye.